Treasure, secrets, mystery. We have been following a long and tortuous trail in pursuit of a dead French priest and his supposed treasure. At every turn, our hunt has run into the shrouding mists of confusions, false trails, obfuscations, designed to distract us from something which seems tantalizingly close, yet always just out of reach. Secret knowledge, solis sacerdotibus, only for the initiated. Rennes-le-Château is where the seed of that mystery was sown. In the church dedicated to the Magdalene at Rennes-le-Château, Saunière found his Priory of Sion parchments, which conceal a pentacle. And Saunière bought a copy of Poussin's painting of the tomb near to Rennes-le-Château, and that too is based upon the pentacle. Cocteau, supposed Grand Master of the Priory of Sion, has shown us the same form. And the Magdalene, to whom the church is dedicated, is the medium of the secret revelation, and she is represented in the heavens by the pentacle of Venus. A geometric form, the five-pointed star, which has such strong connections with magic and the occult. But the chain of clues has led far from this village. Jerusalem is another link in the chain. So too is the island of Bornholm, far to the north in the Baltic Sea. Bornholm's round churches date from the Crusades. They show traces of the influence of the Knights Templar, most famous fighting monks of the Middle Ages. The Templars themselves are surrounded in mystery. This strange document, found in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, lists the early Grand Masters of the order and implies links with another enigmatic organization, the Priory of Sion. And with the Priory seems to lie the hidden knowledge which has created our mystery. Today we might wonder why any sort of knowledge should be kept secret. But knowledge is power, and not just in a magical and mystical way as it might have been for our ancestors. Even today we can sense the danger. The atomic bomb, after all, was the fruit of a secret knowledge which enabled a world war to be won. Some sorts of secret knowledge was handed down from generation to generation in craft guilds and secret societies. And we've already encountered one such secret society, the Priory of Sion, who claims to be the founding parent of the Knights Templar. And what exactly were their secrets? We have set ourselves the task of finding provable evidence, something which we can know to be true. Let us turn our attention to the Templars' tangible remains, and let us begin as simply as possible. Near to Rennes-le-Château, as we know, there are two castles associated with the Templars. Each of them is perched upon a natural mountain peak. And of course, Rennes-le-Château is itself on a mountain top. Each visible from the other, these mountains form a fascinating triangle. The distance from Bézieux to Rennes-le-Château is the same as the distance from Bézieux to Blanchefort. And the angles are significant: 36 degrees, 72 degrees, and 72 degrees, a very precise triangle. And 5 such exact triangles, overlaid upon each other, form a pentagon. And we are brought back to our only certainty: a triangle of mountaintops. But what about the other 2 points? and astonishingly, they also lie on the summits of natural mountains. 5 mountains in perfect symmetry, a gigantic pentacle, natural yet so geometrically perfect that the design seems almost conscious. The odds against finding 5 so exactly placed mountains are, like the hidden movements of Venus, literally astronomical. As above, so below. From the very moment that the perfection of the pentagonal placing was first perceived, and we cannot yet know how far into the past that was, from that very moment, this place seems to have been recognized as a most sacred and holy site, a holy of holies. The very God-given perfection seems to have suggested to the possessors of the hidden knowledge, to the priesthood, the initiated, that they should enclose their holy place within an invisible temple, whose very structure was dictated by the placing of the mountains. So extraordinary is this shape that it was regarded with awe and reverence by the ancients as a representation of the harmony of God's cosmos. The lines which form the sides of the pentacle divide each other in a harmonious proportion which became known as the Golden Division. Here is this amazing star shape on the map. The mountains define fixed distances, such as from any point to its opposite intersection. And strangely, that precise measure also separates the churches of Rennes-le-Château and Rennes-les-Bains. This, of course, could be no more than an interesting coincidence. But look! The same precise distance also separates the churches of Rennes-le-Château and Campagne-sur-Aude. Again, perhaps coincidence. But is it still coincidence when the same measure also separates the churches of Luc-sur-Aude and Serres, Arques and Peyrolles, Arques and Terol, Terol and Saint-Salvaire, Antognac and Roquetaillade, Bourriège and Creux, of Laval and Saint-Just, and the church of Esperaza from those of Custosa, Granes, Saint-Ferréol, and Les Sauzils. No longer coincidence. This is another force, skilled, conscious, and intelligent. For the mere repetition of a fixed distance between structures, remarkable though that is but a tiny glimpse of the immense labour which was undertaken here. This church, in the village of Esperaza, is at a fixed distance from 4 other churches. They lie on the circumference of an immense circle, of which Østerlars Church is the centre. And amazingly, there is a further precision in their very placing on that circumference. This line defines the distance between Custosa and Granes, a distance chosen with meticulous care. Again, the mystic and magical pentagon, not this time formed by the gods out of mountains, but consciously and carefully constructed by man. And for us it is even more remarkable, for we have found the link between this Pyrenean marvel and that tiny island in the Baltic Sea. Bornholm is a small and defined area. The churches are not many. Yet look. 2 churches and a tiny outlying island will prove to form the controlling line which, incredible though it seems, fixes that same geometry. Here it is subtle and complex. In order to explain it clearly, we must approach this hidden wonder step by step. I'm standing here in the centre of Bornholm and at its highest point. Over the centuries, the trees have grown up around this place, but once I would have been able to see that I'm on a hilltop in perfect alignment with 2 hilltop churches, Klemska and Rudska. In this direction is the church of Ibska, and in this, the church of Knudska. And they are both in a direct alignment through this same spot. More, the lines created by this hilltop and these churches intersect in an exact golden division relationship. The beauty of the geometric layout is truly remarkable. from the same point to the church of Pulska is, with an incredible accuracy, the same as the distance to Ibska. And even more surprising, the distance between Pulska and Ibska is exactly half the distance between Ibska and Knutska. Here is one of the most interesting and important of the Bornholm churches. This is Østerlars, a truly magnificent round church, so like the Templar round Capelli Militium. Bornholm has 4 such round churches, and in this regard they are unique, not just on Bornholm, but in the whole of Denmark. They are special, and now we can begin to sense how special they are. Østerlars Church sits at the heart of the geometry, like a spider at the centre of its web. On the other side of the island is another round church, Østerlars, and Østerlars and Østerlars define a circle which has Rutsker Church on its circumference. And this is how the church of Vestermarie is located. As a demonstration of the precision of measure which is being employed, this distance is exactly 1/4 of the circle's radius. And with a 6-sided star, Olskirke Church is fixed. Olske is another of the beautiful round churches of Bornholm. Interestingly, historians have long been puzzled by the precise placing of this church. One would have expected it to have been built at the top of the hill. Why was it placed 150 metres down the hillside? But now we need no longer wonder. The geometric layout dictates its placing with superb accuracy. Later we shall find that this same point has other remarkable implications. Let's return to the geometry. Olsker Church has indicated a hexagon, a 6-pointed star, and it is created in a beautiful and very elegant way by the very nature of a circle. Let us carry this powerful design back to Rennes-le-Château. Remember how 2 of the churches divided this circle into 5 and created a pentacle, but there are 2 more churches on this circle, and they mark out 6 divisions. And they give us the mystic Seal of Solomon, as recognizable as the magician's pentacle, full of religious symbolism. And what of the original Holy of Holies, the mother pentagon of mountains? All is impeccably locked together, precisely placed so that this line is exactly divided in 2. When I first stood on Sonia's Magdala Tower more than 20 years ago, I had no idea how far I would be taken by what seemed to be a little local mystery of a priest and his treasure. Now I am aware of that intricate network of lines and angles and carefully calculated distances which connect the structures in so many villages all around me. Unseen, invisible to all save the gods, known only to the possessors of the hidden knowledge, only to the initiated. But what can have been the purpose of all this labour? The work must have taken many, many years, perhaps even centuries to complete. What was its purpose? For the moment, we can only speculate. At Rennes-le-Château, there was a Holy of Holies to be embellished. But at Bornholm, with the skills perfected, another motivation seems to be at work. The 4 round churches are the key. Their placing appears to be arbitrary, but in fact it demonstrates an incredibly sophisticated geometry. Here we are confronting the ancient mysteries of the square and the circle. The circle inscribed within the square has Østerlars Church on its circumference. And this church defines a seven-sided figure. Another star shape to remind us perhaps of the seven visible planets or the 7 days of the week. From Klemske on the seven-pointed star through yet another church, Rennes, we pinpoint again the tiny island of Christiansø, 24 kilometres from Bornholm. With Østerlars Church as a radius, we can describe a circle which completely encloses Bornholm, and an equilateral triangle within that circle and based on Christiansø contains a smaller circle on whose rim lies the church of Ibske. And the distance from Østerlars to Ibske is exactly the same as the distance between the two round churches of Olske and Nykke. It's as if we're in the presence of a skilled teacher who's trying to show us how to solve a complex problem. Perhaps the layout of Bornholm is a training ground, solis sacerdotibus, only for the initiated. Whoever designed this wonder was amazingly skilled. Even with the sophisticated techniques of the 20th century, the problem is a tricky one. How much more tricky would it have been, not merely to solve it theoretically, but to lay it out as if on a blackboard across miles of open countryside? And back in a remote past, when, as far as we know, such skills did not exist. They seem to have left us a marvel, which must be compared with the wonders of the ancient world. You have many times seen the links between our main locations. Now that triangle takes on a new significance. The distance from Jerusalem to Rennes-le-Château is the same as the distance from Jerusalem to Bornholm, and more. The main Bornholm-Christiansø line projects directly to Rennes-le-Château. Nor is this all. Both layouts use the same unit of measure. Exactly 1,000 units separate the village from the island. Exactly 2,000 units is the length of the other two faces. It demonstrates a skill in measure and in land surveying we didn't even know our ancestors possessed. And yet, by its very nature, it is difficult to grasp, to comprehend. It is, after all, invisible, unseen, unknown to all save the initiated. But we can show you one tangible piece of evidence which will help you to comprehend it. The very construction of Østerlars Church will reveal secrets which until now have not even been guessed at. The church is built on 3 levels. It is a tool for precise surveying. Originally there was no roof. The top consisted of a rotunda with a surrounding rampart. Today the ramparts have been heightened in order to support the conical roof. But once these windows had a clear view. You can see how carefully the stones have been shaped and cut. The plans show how precisely these openings have been placed around the rotunda, and the angles have been skillfully chosen. From the inner circle of the rotunda, the placings become even more interesting. There's a perfect alignment through this window and the one beyond. And of course, before the walls were heightened, the view continued to the exterior. Now, what can have been the purpose of these accurately placed window alignments? Well, let me show you something. From this spot, the candle is clearly visible, but a tiny movement to one side or the other, and the flame will disappear. A beacon burning here would have been clearly visible, but only on the very narrow alignments defined by the placing of the windows. Now we can begin to sense how the very precise geometric surveying was carried out. We have come a long way in our quest for the secret of the French priest's treasure. It seems indeed that the treasure was more likely to have been in the form of a secret rather than a simple matter of gold and jewels. But secrets, knowledge, lead to power. It may be that we shall never know whence Saunier's wealth came. The devil has led us deep into many dark and shadowy recesses of the past. But the treasure story remains one of hearsay, uncertainty. All that is certain is the geometry, the measure. Now, I'm only too well aware that the geometry which I have presented is extremely daunting, especially in the context of a brief television film. But in reality, what you have seen is only a tiny part of what is actually there. The completed designs, or at least the designs insofar as we've been able to explore them, are of an amazing, a beautiful, a complex elegance. Now, I'm also aware that the discovery is a difficult one. Many experts in the fields upon which we have touched, history and archaeology, for example, instinctively shy away from evidence of an apparently advanced and sophisticated culture in the possession of our remote ancestors. But this is because such evidence has been presented all too often in the past by those wishful thinkers who are attracted to the more questionable areas of the mystic. The distinct and crucial difference with the discovery which we have made is its coherence, and above all, its phenomenal accuracy. The facts which you have seen, the geometry, the meaningful designs, the placing of the structures, are demonstrable and provable. They are open to verification. So, although we are by no means at the end of this investigation, what conclusions can we draw from the evidence so far? Well, first, and most obviously, our ancestors possessed a knowledge and a skill far greater than anything we had ever imagined, and they used that skill to create an amazing geometric and mathematical structuring of the landscape within which they existed. Why? Well, we must remember that our view of the universe is not the same as theirs. Their motivation, their driving force, cannot be measured against our own. For them, it seems to me, they were performing a religious work, acknowledging the power and presence of their gods. Let me show you something, as one final and beautiful piece of evidence, one clear and magnificent example of what I mean. Each morning, we watch the sunrise to bring in a new day. For them, that great bringer of light and life was a manifestation of the harmonious workings of God's universe. At Bornholm, the geometric wonder reaches its full and finest development. If we are right, the initiates could even have marked out for themselves a beautifully accurate calendar. And if they decided to do this, then this window should fix the summer solstice. As we can see, the inner windows are very precisely shaped. One of them fortunately still retains its view through the new outer wall. And on June the 21st, Midsummer Day, the day of the summer solstice, we can still experience the precision of the alignments. Today, on June the 21st, the first beams of the rising sun will strike this round opening. It will be an infallible marker for the dawn of the longest day and the beginning of the sun's slow descent into winter. And here, with the rising of the midsummer sun, we catch a tiny glimpse of the wonder which has been through so many long centuries, so utterly and mysteriously forgotten.
Thank